Hello guys and welcome back to another video on the channel today. Today we'll be looking at the winter update that SORARE has just added and diving into all the little details, and I'm going to be completely honest, no bias, and just give my open opinion on what is going down with this new update. So this is going to be a bit more of a longer video today guys, so kick your feet back, maybe get a drink or something, and get ready to really dive into sort of your opinions. I really want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments, so let me know what you guys think about the update. Obviously leave a like please and subscribe if you are new. But we are greeted straight away with this gameplay update screen. Obviously I haven't uploaded this video straight away. I wanted my my sort of thoughts and opinions to sort of settle a bit. I don't want to go into the video with a sort of angry mindset and just reacting in the moment, or the other way around, being like naive and just saying it's all good and sugarcoating it or whatever. So the next day we're reacting to it. I've had let my thoughts sort of simmer down a bit, and yeah, let's go into it with a fresh mindset. And yeah, I'm really going to break down what I think about it. So this is the splash screen you're sort of greeted with, or we were all greeted with on Tuesday. And yeah, so quick breakdown of what it's really going to be is obviously the MLS sort of beat the game stuff, as it says just here. Then we've got Essence stuff that has changed, progression with the divisions, fresh XP system, and a more rewarding prize pool. So let's get into the blog. So for those of you guys that haven't quite got around to seeing the message yet, pretty much they promoted this sort of video message, which is a nice way to interact with their users on all their social media platforms, and obviously in the blog post here. And it's pretty much just a very short rundown of what has changed with the game. However, obviously it's from their perspective, so it's very pushing it in a nice sort of a nice light. But yeah, we're going to dive into some of it today and really get to understand where they're coming from with these sort of changes that they're making. So the first thing we are greeted with in this message, and also in the blog post, is MLS is back. And I think this is a really good way for them. They've done this very smart with their marketing team, and they're starting off really positive, really strong. Whatever they think the best news is pretty much what they're throwing at us straight away. So it instantly changes our minds to be in a because obviously when an update comes out, you're very neutral because you don't know what's changed. And then as soon as if you're greeted with something very positive to start with, then you're gonna change your mindset to be very positive straight away, which I guess they're hoping you see the rest of the stuff sort of in that positive mindset. So it's quite smart, like quite psychological in that sense. But yeah, so quickly talking about the MLS stuff then, which I will say is very positive. Look guys, I'm not here to try and slander SORARE in any way. I'm also not here to try and I get I don't know what the right word is, but I'm not trying to be on anyone's side here. Completely neutral thoughts on the game and my honest opinion on what they've changed. So the MLS stuff, I will say, is very positive, and it does make it very exciting for MLS. And for those of you guys that don't know what it is, it's pretty much a new competition, which I think they're steering towards anyway. I think they want to get out of this sort of champion, challenger, contender stuff, and I think they want to push it more towards league-specific comps. So it makes sense for them to start the MLS one sort of now, with the season being starting. And also definitely from a classic perspective, you don't really want to be buying, or you don't want to be competing against leagues that have already started in Challenger. Obviously, if you are playing Challenger and you have MLS cards, then it's more likely that your MLS card's going to be lower level than the other leagues in Challenger, because obviously them leagues have already started. So it really does make sense for them to open its own sort of dedicated competition. However, it does sort of segregate them in a bit, because obviously now you can't earn other challenger cards with, say, the Essence and things like that. Obviously it's going to be MLS Essence, so you can only earn MLS cards with MLS cards, if that makes sense. Some people might see that as a positive, some people might see it as a negative. For me, I'm not too sure. I won't really know until we're fully, I guess, into the competition. But my first instant thought is that maybe for a classic perspective is not the best, but in season seems pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, that seems to be a general sort of consensus that I'm getting with this update. As we'll go further into this video, you will see that generally speaking, I feel like the Classic is being even more neglected than it already was. So yeah, we'll get into that, I guess, as the video goes on. Now, obviously, MLS is a very popular league, and with this being announced, I think it's going to make the in-season price of MLS absolutely skyrocket. But it also does make sense to remove MLS from Challenger, because then they can make it EU only. Obviously, moving Brazil out of there as well, which we'll touch upon later. And yeah, I think it's just better for like time zones and makes more sense for the Challenger competition. So yeah, thumbs up for that. The MLS is also bringing a beat the game system, so I believe you need 5 in-season cards, again pushing away from the classic narrative, and I think they're using this almost as a test to be like, okay, is it viable for us to have a beat the game sort of mechanism in our competition structure? So pretty much for those of you guys that don't know what it is rather than competing against other people for money or rewards, should we say, I believe that they're sort of pushing it towards like a, sort of like the hit the target stuff. So you pick a team, you choose a target, and you try and win money, rewards, and market credits, whatever it is, essence. Pretty much with a set, you have to beat SORARE as opposed to you have to beat me or something like that. So I think that's definitely a sort of call to action from SORARE perspective that a lot of the users have been asking for a long time. So it's interesting that they're sort of getting around to it now, and I think they're going to use this as almost like an experiment. And generally speaking, this whole MLS stuff, as positive as it is, most of it or a lot of it hasn't really been tested yet. So I think they're really using this as a good learning curve for the company. So I don't mind it. I think overall the MLS stuff, generally speaking, is a very positive thing for the website or the game, should we say. Yeah, I'll probably maybe give it like an 8 out of 10 or something like that. Maybe a 9. It depends. We'll maybe readdress when the competition actually is underway. But yeah, initial thoughts, I think it's definitely a good thing for SORARE. And quickly to touch upon the sort of update that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, so obviously Brazil moving out, Challenger going to be EU only, which is good because then you're not going to sort of get them awkward game weeks where like only the Brazilian league is playing and things like that. So good for time zones in general. Good little update. I enjoy that. Again, probably I think that's something that they kind of meant to do, so I'm not really going to rate this sort of part. But yeah, maybe just like a 7 because that's sort of what you're meant to be doing anyway. In that sense, like it's a good change. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, they're stupid for not already have done it. It's just sort of one of them things that maybe you don't think about at the start of the season, and it's positive to see that they're actively trying to change things for the better, which is good. Now, again, to briefly touch upon the beat the game stuff that is in this blog. Now, I will say it is pushing towards that in-season narrative, which is not the best really for people that have been playing the game the longest, if that makes sense. But I feel like this is the first step of sort of a transitional phase of getting rid of the classic cards, almost like phasing them out of the game in a sense, and just giving them less and less and less utility, which I think some users will react badly to, obviously, because it was it's sort of like that was what we have invested and started the season like knowing, if that makes sense. So again, we'll briefly touch upon this later, but generally speaking, beat the game with you have to have 5 in-season cards. It's weird that they would include a rule like that, but I do get it. Again, it's sort of reiterates the point that I'm making, that I feel like this MLS stuff and this sort of game update is almost being used as like a testing point perhaps for next season. It's very interesting what they're doing here, but yeah, it's generally speaking, it's never really a great look for a business to be changing their business model like halfway through the season, just because the people that invested at the start of the season kind of knew what they were getting into, you knew what you're investing in, and it feels like they're just moving the goalposts almost. So not the best look, but I do understand trying new things and sort of stuff that the community is almost crying out for. So generally speaking, I can't give it too high of a rating just because of the in-season stuff is kind of making me feel a bit weird about it, like almost like, oh, you're reselling us like the concept that we've already invested into, if that makes sense. So maybe give it, like, I like the addition, don't get me wrong, I like the addition of a beat the game because that's obviously what we've been asking for. But yeah, changing the requirements with the in season makes me feel a bit, leaves a bit of an off taste in my mouth. So maybe we'll give it like a, again, maybe like a 7. Yeah, we'll go 7. There's 7 or 8 maybe, I don't know. It's good that they included it, but yeah, we'll go 7. So to clear up the sort of the MLS stuff, wrap it up in a nice little knot and seal it off is, yeah, I think it was good that they changed the challenges to EU. It sort of cleans things up, sort of the mess that they made, I guess, at the start of the season. So they sort of cleaned off that. That's nice and polished or whatever. The challenger stuff, and MLS is a very popular league, so it's definitely going to sell more cards, bring more funds into the website and stuff like that. So yeah, I think overall MLS stuff very positive, and we can sort of be happy with everything MLS really. There's a few like sort of bits in there which maybe is sort of driving us in this new SORARE direction, which a lot of us will sort of be like umming and ahhing about, especially with all of these changes that they seem to keep making. But yeah, generally speaking, I think the early access is probably going to boom. I'm assuming these MLS cards are going to be very expensive, so yeah, that should be fun. But yeah, it's a very popular league. Makes sense to try and sell it as much as they can. And from a business perspective, I'd say fair play. You know, decent from SORARE. Up next, we have the core gameplay updates in the blog. Now, I will say again, just to reiterate at the start, I feel like they've trying to cram all of the, I guess, good or the positive at the start of this blog, and then slowly maybe deteriorate. So yeah, again, there's not really much to address here other than the fact that it is a very positive change with the XP, I would say, because it just simplifies it, which is good for new users. Obviously, it makes so much more sense for it to be like every time you level up you get 1 XP as opposed to every time you level up you get 0.5. I know that sounds very like very small sort of change to people that are already on SORARE, but you got to think about it from a new user perspective, especially with when you sign up to SORARE. I don't know if you guys remember, but when you first sign up there's so much information, so much stuff to learn and things like that. So I think just really simplifying one of the other mechanics like this is definitely a positive step. Now, for those of us that are sort of like, now this is the bit that sort of users that have already got the cards are going to be a bit confused about, is sort of the transitional phase, like how, you know, if I've got a level 15 or whatever Isak, how is he going to transition to this sort of new XP system? And I'd say I think it's going to be quite a smooth transition. I think they're just going to work out. It's quite easy to, you know, if you have 20 levels, it's going to be pretty much half of what your card is now, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty smooth transition in that sense, because it's not, you know, it's not hard maths, especially for people that own a business such as SORARE, you know, makes loads of monies and stuff like that. So shouldn't be too difficult with that sort of side of things. But yeah, I think streamlining the XP is it's never really going to be a bad thing, to be honest. So yeah, we'll give it like we'll go with like a 9. Let's be positive. It's a decent change. And just quickly looking at this other XP stuff, yeah, didn't really touch upon it too much, but I think just basic graphics to make it look nicer, which is never going to be a bad thing. And yeah, so again, they talk about the cooldown period with the the transaction of cards, and oh, sorry, that's the trade-in penalty. So you get a 50% penalty on XP. Makes sense, simple, easy to understand. And yeah, cooldown period, I'm not too sure about this actually. So after cards levels up, cooldown period before you can hit the level again. Cooldown period. Yeah, it makes sense. I guess they're just trying to nerf the spam of leveling. Yeah, interesting, but overall I'd probably still stick with the 9 out of 10. Now here's the big one, division structure adjustments. Now this is the one that they put this very smart, it's very smart to put this right in the middle, I'll say that guys, because I think this is exactly how it's going to have the community feeling. Split down the middle. I think there's going to be some of the community that love this change, aka the people that have big fat galleries and nice big wallets. And then I think it's going to be everyone else pretty much that maybe perhaps don't spend the most on SORARE. And it's really weird for me. Obviously, I'm saying it in this video, I'm being a neutral perspective, but I would honestly say my gallery is probably very neutral as well, in the sense that I haven't spent loads, but I haven't spent not much. You know, I mean, I feel like I'm sort of in the middle. So for me, like as a person, a self-proclaimed middle ground, I guess, SORARE user, I think this is terrible, personally, because, and for those of you guys that think this is good, I think that you don't realize just how many people are going to be in Division 3, for example, and Division 2 and Division 1. I think people are thinking like, oh, that's great, because we get more chance to win more money and things like that. But realistically, think about it, guys. Like, if you're, let's just say there's 1,000 people. Again, this is all hypothetical speaking, but let's just say there's 1,000 people in Div 1 and 35 people get a reward, right? Then you're thinking like, okay, great, that's a decent amount of the people, Let's you know what? I'm gonna run it on a spreadsheet. That's gonna be easier for you guys to understand. Okay, so you know me, any excuse to get a spreadsheet out, I will. So we're going to use general numbers here. I know it changes with scarcities, changes with divisions, things like that. But generally speaking, before they paid out 35 people in the division, right? And generally speaking, there was about, let's just say, that's probably a high number as well. Let's just say 1,500 people entered the division, right? So let's just do a quick sum here. So the amount they pay out divided by the amount of people entered, there you go, as a percentage, is done there already. So they roughly pay out, give or take, 2.3% of the people that entered, roughly. Yeah, obviously these are general figures. Now what they've changed, this is pretty much what they've changed, right? So they're paying out now 65% of people. 65 people. So people, and that's the information they're feeding us. They're saying, yeah, prize pool's sick. We're paying out way more people, more money, yada yada yada, things like that, which is great, and that's a great way to sell your product, and I understand that. And on paper, I think this is what people are thinking about. They're saying, oh yeah, now it's 4.33% people winning. But what they've kind of hidden in this information, in my opinion, is the thing that they haven't really hidden it, to be fair, but it's like the thing that people might not account for is because there's less divisions now. This number is not going to stay the same. If anything, it's probably going to double, guys. Like it's like, I think that's probably a sensible like presumption to make. If you remove 2 divisions, that's like just under half. Okay, so again, this is hypothetical, but half of 1,500, you can roughly do the maths that there's probably going to be, let's just say, around about 2,000, let's just say there's 2,000 people in the division or whatever it is, and you can see the numbers is so minimal so minimal that has changed. And obviously these are rough numbers, but I don't actually think too much has changed in that sense. They're just kind of confining people and making it almost like nearly harder to win, especially because this is not going to be the exact number for, say, Division 3. If anything, Division 3 is going to be very highly populated, maybe even double the amount that is in Division 3 now, and you can see it's actually going to be less. Now, obviously, don't get me wrong, these are all hypothetical numbers, but I feel like that they're really pushing the narrative of, oh, the 65 has changed, but people aren't accounting for the fact that how many people are going to be in these divisions, therefore actually doesn't really change how much people are going to get paid out. Now, the good thing is that people might get paid out more. Now, obviously, yeah, ignore the spreadsheet. I just love a spreadsheet. But that's my initial thought. Maybe I'm completely wrong here. I hope I am. But my initial thought is that yes, we are getting more prizes, or they're paying out more people, but reducing the divisions just seems a bit, again, it fits into this whole dilemma or paradigm that I was saying before, where like we are just moving the goalposts. As I said earlier in the video, why are we moving the goalposts when people have already invested their money into SORARE? Like, that is just such a bad look from a business perspective, in my opinion. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to hate or love too much, but just from a neutral standpoint, I just think you can't be changing something when people have already invested their money into it, you know? So yeah, that's my honest opinion on this whole division structure stuff. And again, I feel like it's going to be so hard to promote and relegate, really. I feel like we're just going to be so stagnated in the division that you're put in. Which again, for Wales, people that pay loads of money, great. You know, you're going to be earning more. You're probably going to promote more, whatever. That's great. But from the people who are neutral and below, which is the majority of users, like statistically, then yeah, I just don't see this as a good thing. So maybe I'm looking at this in the wrong light, but for me, to be honest, I think this is not the best look for SORARE. So for that reason, I'm giving this part of the update, honestly, I just think it's, you know, one step forward, two step back. So I can't give it any more than a two, really. I just, yeah, I don't see this in a positive thing. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong, I don't know, but that's just the way I see it, guys. Now, I will quickly just reiterate before I move on to the next segment of the video. Reading this super rare stuff, I'll be honest, I've never played super rare, so this is purely from a limited standpoint, guys. I will reiterate that, actually, because I feel like it's unfair for me to give an opinion on the whole all of the scarcities. I will reiterate, I only play in the limited scarcity, so my point of view or my perspective is purely from a limited standpoint. I will reiterate that because I'm not going to sit here and speak about SORARE, not SORARE, sorry, I'm not going to sit here and talk about super rare division changes and unique and rare stuff because I just don't play them. So therefore, my opinion is pretty much irrelevant, really. So here is purely from a limited standpoint, guys. Now, the next part of the blog touches upon what we've sort of as a common reoccurring theme in these little segments that we have here. Classic cards in the mud, pretty much. Now, this is just awful. Again, I will say, obviously, I only play limited, so this doesn't affect me. However, I don't care. If you've invested in something at the start of the season and they make a massive change like this, honestly, I feel really, sincerely, I feel really bad for anyone that did invest into super rare and unique and had a clear strategy of what they were going to do, and they've invested in their two classics. For those of you guys that don't know, what has happened is they've changed two classics into one for in-season competitions, which again fits into this whole paradigm of the MLS stuff where they are phasing out classic cards. And it just feels like it's just a step in the wrong direction, in my opinion. And just generally speaking, that's all I can say from a limited user's standpoint. I just feel very sorry for anyone that has or owns super rares and uniques, because this just sucks. It really does suck. And for that, this is a 0 out of 10. Very poor from SORARE perspective, in my opinion. And there is a reason that this isn't the number one first thing you see on the blog post, guys. You have to scroll for this one, and there is a reason for that. I'll tell you that for free. So here is the graphic that they are sort of given for that as well. And yeah, you won't see this graphic very often unless you're scrolling, let's just say that. So the next segment of the blog is rewards revamp. So it states improved reward quality, and let's have a little rundown of this then. Now, so it says here, no more double rewards for in-season and classic comps. So pretty much what that means is you're going to get prizes or cards. You're not going to get both, pretty much, which is I guess is all right. You know, it doesn't matter too much for us. Now, here's a big one. So pretty much what they're doing with this update, I think one of the biggest things that will affect you if you play SORARE is they're removing boxes, essentially. Now, personally, we're all going to have our own theories on this, why this is. Personally, I believe this is because they're having issues with the gambling committee. For those of you guys that don't know, they've got a court hearing soon, and I believe boxes just push the idea that this is a gambling website, and I think they want to neglect the element of chance. So, in my opinion, I think that it's a better look for SORARE if before you enter a competition, you know what you're going to get, as opposed to there being a chance of you getting something. So what I mean by that, guys, is if you get a box, you have all these. You can see that there's chance probability that you could get whatever 100 essence or you could get one essence. That is the element of chance, right? However, they've taken that out and they've said now you are 100% going to get this reward. There is no more chance to it, right? So I think that is to help with the gambling sort of side of things. Obviously, I'm assuming they don't want to pay for a gambling license, or I'm not really sure. Obviously, I don't work for SORARE or anything, so I don't know. But that is, from an outsider looking in, that's what it screams to me, and that's what I'm here to make this video today for you guys, is sort of a neutral perspective who doesn't probably knows the same about SORARE as you guys watching this video. That is just my head thinking. What I see here is, oh no, they might have some issues with the probability or chance stuff in SORARE, so they're going to make everything solidify. You know what you're doing, you know what you're getting, you know what you're paying for, whatever. Which is again, I hate when they move in the. I'll come back to the point. Moving the goalposts midway through a season is never a good look. But with that being said, as soon as I read this, I knew straight away Rivals is gonna get cooked. So before you even get to the end of this blog, which obviously I have read this blog before, so I do know at the end they do touch upon Rivals, but Rivals is pretty much all to do with boxes, right? You know, you play, you win boxes, and you get tickets or essence through that. But again, there's the element of chance, so we already know they're trying to eliminate that. What's the best way of doing it? Let's retire Rivals and get rid of all the boxes in that sense. So yeah, interesting. I yeah, I wouldn't say I hate it, because obviously they probably need to do this. They're probably being forced to take out boxes, to be honest. So can't really mark them down for that in that sense. Or maybe they're strategically taking them out. Maybe they think is a better way, a better look for the website, which I'd say I agree with. I think it's better knowing, but so there's two sides of it. There's a user side of it where I say I get it. You know, it's probably best for the future to be like this. But then there's also a content creator side of me that's like, no, you're taking away the fun of a rewards video or the fun of the content you can create from boxes. You know what I mean? The uncertainty, that's sort of the thrill of opening a box. But some people don't even enjoy opening boxes; they hate them. So yeah, it's a one of them that's sort of like, you could see it both ways. Yeah, it's interesting, and obviously they're rewarding XP now as well, which, yeah, it's a weird one for me. It's a weird one. I do like the XP changes that they've gone with, but using it as a reward, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one. Again, I probably have to wait and see how it plays out. Um, but yeah, so generally speaking, again here they sort of touch upon all of the changes they've made. Hence, remember we were talking about the spreadsheet, how they changed the payout and stuff, which is obviously going to make it look healthier. Because if they're paying out a less percentage of people, that's fine. But the way they're negotiating that is, I guess, with potentially higher prize pools and things like that. So yeah, fair play. But yeah, I'd say generally speaking for this segment, I can't go too high with the rating for sure, but I can't go too low because I feel like it's probably a necessary change. So I'm just going to sit on the fence and probably say about a 5 out of 10 for this one. So moving on to the next part of the blog, it talks about Essence update. Now, I feel like this is information that should have been given to us as soon as Essence was released. However, I will give them the fact that, like they say here, it was a new thing that they added, and obviously when you add new things, it's not going to be perfect first time you release it, so that's understandable. But yeah, they say here Essence will not expire at the end of the season, which I guess is quite a cool thing. But that there's definitely been problems with Essence in the sense that obviously they didn't used to have a cap with it, and people would go over the cap and then complain that they lost Essence because they opened the box and yada yada yada. So there's definitely been issues with Essence, but I'd say generally speaking, I guess giving us more information on Essence is never a bad thing, because sometimes people are confused with, stuff like this they don't know about if it's going to carry over and things like that. But I'd say, yeah, just more clarity is never a bad thing, so fair play to them for that. And yeah, so they sort of talk about when you can craft cards and when they'll become new seasons and stuff like that. So in general, more information about Essence, which is probably a good, again, talking about where they're putting it in the orders, probably good to have a very positive thing like this at this point in the blog, because you need to sort of pick it back up from what might, the negativity they might have picked up from the first or the last couple of bits. So yeah, I think I'm never going to give it a bad rating for giving us more insight to the game that, or the thing that we're invested in. So yeah, I'll probably give this like an 8 or 9, because it's always good to have more information on something that is in the game, and what know what we're investing in. To have more information on it, it's never a bad thing. Now this is a sad sight to see. Collection game is the next part. Just talking about duplicate cards, like, just an update again, like I said in the previous bit, just updating things or giving us more information on things that are already in the game, which again I can't really hate on. But the reason why I'll say it is a sad sight to see is because I just feel like if you've got a collection, there should be. Personally, I just feel like if you've went out of your way to be in the top 10 or the top 5 or the best collector of a certain club, I just feel like you should. Personally, I just feel like you should get a bit more. Like, there's no difference between someone having a 5% and all of the cards in the collection. Now, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, they deserve like something crazy or whatever, but I just feel like there should be something, and that's why I say this bit's a bit sad, because I'm almost like, I feel like there should be, just. I'm almost just waiting for, it's that hope. It's the hope that will kill you guys. But yeah, I feel like, yeah, I know you get badges and stuff, but there's no difference. I need difference. I need something. But yeah, for a rating perspective, sorry, a little mini breakdown there. From a rating perspective, again, information about the game. I wish it was more. Let's go over 7. And here we have it, Rivals Last Dance. We knew it was coming, because they've got too much boxes involved with the competition, and it got a little bit stale. I will admit, it got a bit almost stagnating in its sort of like past self. Obviously over the Euros it was very good with all the competition they were running there. Then they have the squad stuff to sort of bring it a bit more back to life, which was cool. Playing with your friends, aiming for Division 1, which was nice, but it didn't really last too long, really, I guess, because they're going to have the stats and stuff and all that on their computers. They're going to know how many people enter, how many people use tickets to enter games at this part of the season compared to this part of the season, and they probably noticed a big decline or a big drop off. So they do need to do something to give it a bit more life. And yeah, I think it's a good way. It's a good way to sort of you're doing two birds with one stone, getting rid of the box, updating a game that needs updating. So yeah, overall, pretty decent. For those of you guys that don't know what's coming next with this, I believe it's going to be very similar to the NBA stuff. For those of you guys that don't play NBA, pretty much they have obviously the pro side, which we have in football, and they have the daily hoops side. So pretty much what you do is every single day you line up your normal lineup, and then how they perform is you get rewards based on that, which I actually think is going to be a very positive change for SORARE in general, because I do really enjoy playing daily hoops. Now, I know nothing about NBA, but I do actually think daily hoops is better than rivals, and I love football, so it can only be a good thing, I think, really, generally speaking. So I'm actually going to give the rivals retirement and a bit of life and stuff midway through a season. Now, I know that's kind of maybe contradicting my point of changing, moving the goalpost, but this is a free to play, a little bit different. You don't invest to play rivals, really. I don't know anyone that does that. So yeah, this isn't really moving the goalpost for me. This is more of like what they should be doing halfway through a season, in my opinion. So I'm gonna give this one, honestly, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10, because it's good to update things that need updating. So fair play to them. I'll give them their props where it's due. And then they finish off the blog with just sort of a general update, talking to us managers about the plans and how they don't really want to change too much in the middle of the season. And they're talking about how there's going to be the next update is going to be August, which I'm assuming is going to be a complete change in the way that strategy works in SORARE, which is going to be, this is exactly what I'm saying. If you want to make big changes and change strategy, great for content creators. They can make sort of loads of videos on what to do next and how to improve, and I do enjoy that part of SORARE, but I thoroughly believe it should be an end of the season thing. So I don't mind that they're talking about, you know, in August when they're going to make big changes to the game in terms of like gameplay, I guess, which is good that they decided to do it in August and not now, because there'll probably be a bit more uproar on the thing. But yeah, generally speaking, that is my thoughts and opinions on the SORARE stuff. Obviously, like I said, yeah, I think generally speaking, it's a good update, but I just wish some of the things they didn't change now, because it's just a bad look overall for the company to be changing, you know, moving the goalposts all the time. So yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please, like I said at the start of the video, let me know in the comments what you guys think about the changes. Do you like them? Do you hate them? How has it affected you and your gallery? Me personally, I think the biggest thing that has affected me is the divisions. Now, I'm yet to, obviously, we haven't played, none of us have played this yet, so we're yet to sort of see how it plays out. So I do want to go into it with an open mind, but my initial thoughts are I'm a bit worried about it. But yeah, we'll see how it plans out. Hopefully it's for the better. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave a like if you did. Like I said, comment, let me know what your thoughts and opinions are, and I'll catch you guys in a future video. Peace.